All right. Good evening and welcome, friends. We are live. Yes, I like that, Mark. Welcome to all fellow D.A.O members. It's feeling really good to be a D.A.O member right now. I'm telling you that. I'm feeling real good from where I'm standing. We got Kramer in the house. Very good. Joe, I think you know that guy, right?
A little bit, yeah.
What a guy. What a guy. Well, good evening and welcome, everyone. Glad you're on the call. I know we have some more people going to join us in a minute, but they can always hit the rewind button on the recording. Tonight, we have an exciting special guest. Great to have Joe in the house. Joe, of course, is the founder, the visionary, getting this big decentralized cloud off the ground. It's a huge lift. It's a big bird to get off the ground, but he's getting it done. And tonight, we have some exciting stuff to share with you. So, Joe, before we get going, do you have any opening thoughts, any comments you want to share with everyone?
No, I really do like what you just said, right? Getting this bird off the ground. It is a huge lift. I think most people don't really understand this is something that's never been done before, but that's what excites me about it, right? There's a lot of things that are evolving, changing, especially here within the US. I think one of the greatest things of what we're doing is being able to build something in the US that is innovative enough to go into, I like to call it a Web 2.5 project, Terry. Like we have stuff in Web 2, we have a little bit of stuff in Web 3, so we're kind of just in between there. But yeah, excited to be able to just kind of have this conversation with you, Terry. I know you and I have been going back and forth on different ideas and how we can help out our CloudX hardware owners out there. I don't know if there's any CloudX hardware owners in the chat right now, but if you guys are listening, I think this is a great call for you and also for any future potential CloudX hardware owners, so you can see what the potential of this project is.
Well, and that's the thing that's really exciting, because some of the people are maybe a little more risk averse, so they sit on the fence a little while. They watch and observe from the sidelines. But I think if they really grasp kind of some of the things we're going to talk about tonight, the FOMO is going to kick in for them, and they're going to understand that it's time to get in the game if you like the idea of what we have going on here. So I love what's going on. Before we get into some of the new and exciting stuff, how about just a little recap of kind of where is the software development at right now?
Yeah, well, we have I guess let's start from the base, right? So the cloud cluster or the cloud software, that is in final developments for the virtualization layer. And what that means is you're able to put multiple different tenants in the same space because it's virtualized, right? Think of it as an apartment building, but you can put 3 families into it. That's the virtualization layer, and that it's all being automated right now. So I'll probably say by the end of this week, that'll be up and running. And then from there, we'll have the second layer, which is the provisioning software where you can log in. Terry, for example, let's say you wanted to spin up a node because you're in a blockchain project or something. You can just go in and create an account, pay, put your credit card on file and pay for that, and you're up and running, right? It installs all the softwares for you, and it brings up the root access, what's called SSH, into the machine, and you can do whatever you want with it from that point forward. So that's the second piece. And then the third piece, and all of these things are kind of being worked on at the same time, is the Innate Hub. That is our Google Drive competitor and our Zoom competitor, if you will, or Dropbox competitor. That is up and running as well. We have probably about 50 people that are alpha testing it for us right now. We have the apps that are actually going into the stores here within the next week or so, at least in the test pilot phase, right? So we'll probably get those out to our beta users, and we'll just make sure everything is running smooth with that, and probably within the next 7 to 10 days have that out as a product for retail.
And would that include the mobile side within the 7 to 10 day window?
On the test pilots, I believe so. And then it's just from there, we'll put the test pilot out to our beta users. Terry, I think you have a profile with that, so you'll be in that, and we'll work out any bugs, and then we'll submit it for submission. And then once it's approved, that could take one day, it could take 1 week, it could take 1 month. It's just dependent on Apple and Google at that time. But we will have the APKs and the test pilots out there, and so we can host it on our site. They could download it as long as you're okay with not coming from the official store. It's still a trusted source, but it's not coming from the store at that point.
Well, as someone who avoids the stores like the plague
You
and
probably
loves
like
things
that.
like
Yeah.
APK files, I'm
Yeah.
excited because I'm always, I'm always bugging everyone I know. If I've got the rear, I'm all like, "Hey, do you have an APK file for that?" Like that's all I want. So I love that we get those out.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we can definitely do the APKs. We can self-host that, and you can download it from inside of your profile, so you don't have to go through the stores if you don't want to. But obviously, the majority of people don't think like us, so they'll probably just like, well, I don't find it on the Play Store. I can't find it on the App Store. So
yeah, but it'll get there. So yeah, for those of you who haven't tried it out, I was very, very impressed with how user friendly and easy it is and how it's organized back there. And I'm excited that it only gets better from here. But I was very impressed right away that I could see it organizing the files fantastically. So we already have the Nova stuff live. Now the software is almost ready for larger scale migration. Now we've got the N8 hub, grabbing all that low hanging fruit that every everyday user could easily be using. We can onboard large numbers of people. That's fantastic. And so another thing you and I have been talking about, maybe we should just get straight into that I think people are going to be really excited to hear about, is a lot of us are crypto blockchain people as well. And there is a new blockchain launching that many of us are involved with. And if you're not, that's okay too. But on there, what they require is a thing called validators. Every blockchain has them. And the best way to do that is to use a cloud hosted service because you need guaranteed internet uptime, backup power stations. You need fast bandwidth on the processing side. You also need it on the internet side. And you need all those kinds of guarantees. And you want to eliminate all the confusing clutter of not being a tech expert to get things up and running. It's best to use a cloud. And Joe and I have been back and forth for a while and talking to some of the other blockchain guys, and we're getting close. We're not saying it's a guarantee, but we're getting close to a solution now, which I'll get you to elaborate on, Joe, that might work and might bring on a very significant volume into the hardware boxes of cloud consumption.
Yes. Yeah. So we can definitely do it. That's not a problem. I know a lot of the requirements out there for a lot of these validator nodes. They're what's called the general purpose node. So we can definitely do it. It's been coming down to finding the right offering for the members of the Web3 of the blockchain community, because we definitely want to be able to not just give the best price possible, but the best value possible. So, one of the things that we've been looking at is obviously our competitor pricing. I think we'll be able to beat that by at least 20 to 30% easy. So obviously when you're talking about validator nodes, people are using validator nodes because they're mining token. So your overhead, whether that's the software cost or the hardware cost, is very important that you minimize that as much as you can. So I think I would probably say we could have some of the best pricing out there for the hardware side of things and for the storage. And so that's one. But one of the things that we also want to do for the communities out there is be able to just create an easy button. You go in, you create your account, it spins up with all the softwares that you need in it, and you put your software key in there, and it basically does everything for you. And if there's any issues that you have somebody that you can call to get it fixed for you, right? So I know a lot of the other cloud providers out there, you'll get the hardware, you'll get access to the machine, but then if you mess something up or you're not a techie, you're going to get stuck there. You're going to have to find a techie or hire a developer to come fix it for you. And so we'd be assuming all that cost, the support cost, and obviously giving the best price possible.
Well, and I think that's the other great thing about the validators is that they are very lucrative in their nature. And so we don't need, we can still have a healthy amount of revenue coming into the box holder. So Joe, potentially we could be seeing thousands of these validator nodes coming into our cloud. What does that do to our hardware capacity right now?
It actually, if we could get a percentage of them, and Terry, and I'll let you talk to percentages and stuff like that, but we don't have enough hardware to support the entire ecosystem. So we could definitely max out the hardware capacity with just this one potential project. And if we have somebody on the end that's talking and being a voice for our cloud there, and we're tailoring our cloud for these members, I think it's a potential possibility that we can get a good amount or a good portion of these potential validators out there. So we definitely need more hardware is the thing, right? It's like the consumption of the hardware goes fast, and that's the thing that I think some of us as hardware owners, we've been kind of like setting things up. Terry, I know I get calls from you sometimes a little bit like nervous, like, oh, when's the revenue going to start? But then all of a sudden overnight, like all the conversations I've had over the last 3 weeks is like, we're too small of a cloud for some of these customers out there. And so it's like, we need to get to the right size of cloud, and that's becoming geo redundant in multiple data centers. And that's where we're at. We're on the cusps of that, but I understand people are just kind of waiting for things to go. But I feel very good about this Web3 project because it's something that we can grow into. We can start off with getting 500 or 600 validators on and turn that into 1,000 and 1,500 and 3,000 pretty quickly. And so I know we can definitely handle that workload. And I hope that shows that, look, people, we need hardware. We need hardware bad. The supply and the demand of software consumption is out there. We just have to start growing our cloud at the right pace.
And so these validator nodes, while they may not be the most profitable segment of data per se, it would be an instantaneous client that just about consumes the entirety of our cloud as to where it stands right now. So for those of you who own hardware or are thinking about it, or those of you who are like, well, how long is the road to tenancy and revenues? The road is very narrow, because if we get this project going, which it's not dependent on someone signing, it's already a yes. We just need to help the people who want to be validators see the wisdom in taking the cloud approach. And I happen to be the lead voice over there. So I will be absolutely telling them that this is the right solution. And so I think we're going to get thousands of them. I don't know how many exactly, time will tell, but it's exciting to me. I think that's going to work out really well. And so, friends, if you're thinking about more hardware, or you're not sure when you're going to get some revenue in the hardware, here's the thing that could be potentially bringing in within weeks. We're not in control of exactly how many weeks, but it's a within weeks thing. It's not a months thing. And this would, use up the cloud. So those of you who are also wondering if you want to be a D.A.O seat owner, I mean, right here, right now, we are looking at some really nice, healthy revenues for our cloud right in the early infancy days. So I'm excited as hell about that. So speaking of hardware, Joe, so right now we do need some geo redundancy, but there is already a lot of groundwork already laid there. And so the future orders of boxes would go and go set that up, correct?
For sure. Yeah. We've already been working on the infrastructure side, getting the power in, getting everything laid out the way it needs to be. And all the technicians and the engineers have been working on that already for a few weeks. So it's a matter of right now, guys, is continuing to sell hardware, continuing to find people that align with the vision, or even getting people into the D.A.O. Like, my number one goal right now is to fill up this D.A.O so we can convert our entity into a D.A.O and run as a D.A.O. And what that'll do is there's different things online. I'll go through a CloudX update call probably here within the next 24 to 48 hours as well, Terry, on a Zoom with the, all with the internal D.A.O members and the CloudX owners, and kind of give them the ins and outs of how everything is ear tagged and how it's going to work, because there's some potential, there's a lot of potential here. And I was just talking to one individual, and they're like, I am amazed that you actually are putting this into a D.A.O, and that it's going to run as a D.A.O, because this is a project that has a potential to go to, I don't want to jinx it, but multi-billions out there, and we get to be in the forefront of this. So obviously there's a lot that needs to be said with that. There's a lot of execution. There's a lot of forward thinking and forward thinking statements there, but it is important to understand that there is a big potential here as well. And that does come with a little bit of risk, but if you understand how to do risk management and understand how to get involved in these projects, it's just a matter of time before we get there.
So we'll talk about the DAOs and the hardware a little bit more in a minute, but I think it's also important for people to realize that these validators are not the only customers who are now, I won't say signed, but people that are excited or that are ready to onboard. But we need to have certain requirements to get there. And for those of you who want to contribute to that and get your slice of it, you can do it in two ways. One is that you own hardware, and one is the DAO seats. But we need to grow the hardware so we can bring those other customers on too. You don't want to have customers saying yes and leave them waiting on the sidelines that we can't service them. But hey, that's a quality problem. So being a DAO seat owner comes with royalties and dividends and tokens and all stuff. So get into that a little bit with us about the benefits of being a DAO seat holder.
Yeah, so it's a model that's kind of prevalent right now, and I think you've been in similar projects as well as are helping lead one right now. And I think what we are doing a little bit differently is in the DAO organization. The O stands for organization already, but in that organizational structure, we all have. If you have a DAO seat, now you have a voice and a vote in the direction of what we are doing with the business side of things, right? And if I want more token rewards, or I want more royalty burn, or I want more dividend payout, I am in control of that as a DAO seat owner, meaning I can go out and speak my mind. I can go out and bring different deals to the table, much like Terry, like you're doing here, right? This is kind of what decentralization is all about. Like, hey, I got a project over here that I'm working on. You got this over here. And it's just being a good middleman and making these deals happen and helping one project build another project and helping another. So that's what I love about it is that concept of like, hey, I can actually control in a way the burn, or I can control in a way the value of the token, because that is the way that things are set up. So the privileges, I think there's a bunch of different ways to get value. I think what people need to understand when they're getting involved in Web3 projects is you hear about speculation all the time, right? Oh, I'm going to make all this money and I'm going to be the next billionaire. And yes, can it happen? Yes, it can definitely happen if you hit the right thing. There's all these testimonials out there of tens of thousands of percents that people have made on these different types of tokens, right? But the reality is those are just that's maybe 1 in a million, or 1 in a couple 10 million of people that you hear that. The average person inside of cryptocurrency, or inside of decentralization, or inside of what we've put together with the DAO specifically, has the ability to have real world value added to their life, whether that's in the form of services and products that we are creating, or travel benefits that you can use for the token, or for a long-term hold in just creating value for yourself. And legacy wealth is the way that I look at this, right? Because if we can create something where it has a lot of burn out there, then it's just a matter of we only have an ecosystem of maybe 4,000 to 5,000 people that we need to kind of take care of. And the revenues that I've done in the past in my startups, I've done well over $300 million in sales. And just looking at what that could have done for an ecosystem like this is it could have created so much wealth for so many people out there, right? So yeah, can you go out there and make millions or billions or tens of thousands of percent? Yes. But what we want to do is we want to help the average person around the world, make a few extra $100 a month, and that's what our goal is.
So getting a DAO seat does, literally and figuratively makes you basically a slice of an ownership. It's for ease of understanding. It's not like a stock, or a share in a stock, but it's similar for ease of understanding. It'd be a close parallel.
Well, and with the DAO Act of Utah, right? So the good thing about registering with the state is now we can talk about this. It's membership interest. It's a stakehold, right? It's an equity. In the traditional sense, you would use the term equity ownership, right? But in the decentralization, it's just a member interest or a stakeholdings within the DAO, right? Because no one person owns it. The idea of decentralization is nobody owns it. that's a great thing about it. And the DAO recognizes that is nobody owns it. It's this collective that owns it, right? And so all of us together collectively own it, meaning there's no liability on one specific individual either, which I think is great. So there are, this collective is what makes up this organization, and you have a way to be, through technology, be able to give direction. Because publicly traded companies, they do this in a way, right? But what do publicly traded companies do? They go out there, it's created by a small group of entrepreneurs, the founding group, and then they take it, and there's an exit strategy with the IPOs, and essentially that's the liquidity event to be able to scale the company. But who still runs the company? The board of directors do. And so that's a centralized board, right? In the DAO scenario, it's the full 20,000. That's the board, right? The board is the full 20,000. And so your vote, when you sign that transaction, yes or no for the proposal, you are participating in the direction of the company. And so it's just with technology, Terry, and with blockchain, it allows it to be transparent, and it allows it to be decentralized. And so you have that, let's call it that member interest, and that member interest is represented by a governance NFT, okay? Or that governance token. It's just an NFT in this case. And then that governance token is going out there and creating, when it's staked and you're participating in the DAO, it creates now the fungible token for the innate token. That's for our internal mechanism of transacting. As you know, I've been in the payment space for quite some time. I've helped companies do hundreds of millions of dollars and maybe even close to $1 billion in transacting in payments. And it is hard to get payments in for a company that is scaling. And the crazy thing about it is it's so expensive. You have anywhere between 1% to 3% of a transaction fee, and the company is just having to eat that. And I think what we want to do with our own token is use it as a mechanism to transact, to be able to share or to save on that 3% fee that's usually going to Visa or MasterCard or to the banks, and be able to use it as our own internal mechanism. So it saves the company money. It makes the DAO, if you're saving money, you're making money, all that money saved can go into royalty burn. So it's a transacting mechanism, it's a currency, but it's also a way for us to build value for other people that now want to get involved outside of the DAO, right? Or that never got involved in the initial, NFT offering. What you can do is you can actually collect a certain amount of tokens and convert that into an NFT, right? So your tokens that you have can make you more NFTs if you wanted to, governance tokens. And so this way, all you're going to do is you don't even have to burn those tokens. All you'll do is you'll stake them. And you staking, and I'll just use an example. Let's say you staked 1,000 tokens. That 1,000 tokens is now going to create you a ambassador NFT or a founder NFT, okay? And that's going to give you extra voting right. That's going to give you extra token. And you're not paying for that. You're not buying another NFT. You're staking it. So what does that mean? At the end of that staking period, you unstake your NFT. Now you collected rewards, token rewards. Now you have you get your token back. You didn't buy another NFT. You just staked your tokens. You locked them up for a specific time. And now you have more token. You have double token, and you had more voting right into the company. So, or privileges in the DAO.
Well, I love it because it's much like a co-op for those who are still struggling to understand. I mean, a co-op is the easiest way to think of it. Except it's a co-op that could potentially pay very, very well because there are royalties, dividends on top of these tokens that you're describing here. And also in the future, Joe, you talked about exit liquidity and liquidity events. There is potential scenarios where you may go public or may sell a portion of the company down the road, which, all of the co-op owners would also be, beneficiaries of. Was that accurate? Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah. So the way that it works, and if you look at the light paper, right, and all of this, guys, is subject to change. There's a lot of, different nuances in here. What we've done is we've created a business collective, right? Co-op, if you want to use that word, Terry. So the DAO is the network side, the innate network, and we have a software company, we have a hardware company. The software company is to be organized, to be formed. The hardware company has actually been in operations for about 6 months now. Since the beginning of this year, we've done close to about $2 million in sales in that startup. And so our thought process is the technology company will actually, the DAO will own a interest in the technology company, but that entity will be a traditional S Corp entity, and it'll be for the manufacturing of hardware and cloud services. It'll be the company that does the rev share with the cloud hardware owners, so it'll have a lot of revenue coming in from the cloud consumption. That company, we want to take it to be able to compete with the hyperscalers. And the way that I look at this, because I know you'll get this, and a lot of people that come from the Web3 community will get this. Innate Technologies will become the Bitmain, if you will, of what was in proof of work Bitcoin, right? So Bitmain is one of the biggest manufacturers out there of hardware for the proof of work system for Bitcoin, right? And so that's what Innate Technologies will become, and it'll become that manufacturer of hardware, services, and software for our cloud, for our decentralized cloud, right? So we can take that, now you can take that company and turn it public. And you see all these use cases out there. Exodus Wallet, I don't know if you've ever seen them. They've done their Web3 side with their coin offering, if you will. But they're also at the point right now where they're going to do an IPO. So there's a way right now where there's a lot of companies that are Web3 companies that are doing a traditional IPO with a Web3 and a Web3 offering as well. So because I think it allows, the Web3 side allows for your average Joes to get involved, if you will. You know, your average people that, you know, they don't have tens of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars to get invited to a private, you know, launch of an IPO. But then there's a lot of people out there that a lot of institutional money that won't get involved in that level, but they will get involved in the IPO level. So I think we're going to see it more and more. So we've set up the companies to where we could have the IPO structure in the future. And guys, like, talking in the future here, right? We'd have to go through, register with the SEC, do all of those filings. We will do everything in accordance with the law. And then from there, you can also have your Web3 offering. So that's kind of the way we've set up the companies with the structure right now.
You know, I don't think people understand just how much opportunity is sitting at their fingertips. I mean, the idea that you could get hardware when there's a lineup of customers that exceed the amount of hardware that currently exists. And then secondly, you've got a cloud, a potential to own a piece of a cloud that could turn into billions of dollars, maybe even IPO, which is where all the big money is made. And normally you need to be an accredited investor. And you're talking about 20, 50, 100, 250K are the minimum buy-ins is very standard in these kinds of things. Here for $1,000, you can get a founder seat. You can get more than one, by the way, which, you know, is recommended as well. But for $1,000, you get your foot in the door. I mean, and you could expand over time. I mean, that's incredible. Joe, what you're doing is just actually very generous. Because, man, you put a lot of time, energy, stress, loss of sleep to lift this bird off the ground.
For sure. No, it's been a tough lift. Like you said in the beginning, right? Getting this bird off the ground, it hasn't been easy. And I'm asking for that help now, Terry. That's why I'm like, I can't do it anymore by myself, right? I need the help. I need people like you. I need people like Travis and Eric and Catherine Ann and Kramer, and I need people to come in and start taking ownership. And that's why I wanted it to be a DAO, because I want people to feel like they have ownership. And it's not me promising ownership. Hey, it's going to be on the blockchain. Buy the NFT and everything is going to happen on the blockchain. Once you're on chain, there's no taking it back. Once you have your token, nobody can take it back from you. And that's what I love about it. So you don't have to like work on like, oh yeah, Joe said if I do this, I'm going to get, you know, I'll get some equity interest in the company. No, it's on blockchain. You're going to get it from day one. The moment you stake your NFT, you start getting this token. We can go out there, we create the royalty burn together. So the more, you know, skill you put into something, the more you're going to be able to get out of it. So.
And so people can get an NFT today. They can get started. The DAO is a now thing. It's not out in the future, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So that's also very exciting. It's a today thing. And also, guys, that contributes to the growth, right? Like a cloud this size to cater to the amount of clients that are looking to come on board requires a lot of money, a lot of software, a lot of engineering, and a lot of hardware. And so you get in where you fit in, and ideally a little bit of everywhere would be my suggestion. I'm excited to be involved with all of it. I think it's a fantastic project.
Yeah, and I just want to reemphasize something there, Terry. You know, the DAO seats, the NFTs, if you will, those are right now. We're doing the pre-sales, right? The great thing about the pre-sales is we're there's not going to be any minting fees if you buy in the pre-sale. Once we get into minting the actual NFTs, that'll be on blockchain, that'll be done directly in the DApp. There are minting fees associated with that, not just gas chain fees, but minting fees. So if you're looking to buy multiples, you could be saving, you know, a few $100 on minting fees by buying right now in the pre-sales. And then with the pre-sales, if you want, there's the membership access as well, where you can get discounts on the CloudX hardware. So you don't have to buy retail. You could buy actually at a discounted rate as well for any of the hardware, for people interested in the hardware as well.
Well, that's fantastic. And how much money are people saving, kind of generally speaking, in the pre-sale versus like what you picture as a retail list price?
So on the NFT sides or the hardware side? Sorry. Yeah.
So yeah, the DAO.
So right now it'll probably be about a 20 to 30% savings. And then later on, it's actually a tiered pricing. So the NFTs will just get more expensive as we move on. And then on the hardware side, if you buy one membership, that's saving you about, on the founder side, 10%. I had one person earlier, they could buy at 16.8, or you could buy at 15,100. You make the decision, right? And they're buying 8 of them. They're buying 8 hardware packs, and so they're saving, call it $1,500 per times 8. You're saving about $20,000 just by becoming a discount member or getting a member pass. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a lot of savings. And I'm jealous. A few years ago, 8 packs would have sounded awesome right now today. But some of us got hit hard on a couple projects along the way. And that is what it is. We make our decisions. But you're creating an avenue for people who are maybe trying to get ahead right now to get a massive leverage on getting ahead right now. So you can make money having tenants. I call them the rent checks, right? On the hardware side. So you can make money on the rent checks, but you can also make money on the rent checks, the royalties, share in some of the profits, and get some of the tokens that are going to eventually be worth a lot of money. It's a lot of value that's going to go into those tokens. So you get 4, I call it the 4 bites of the apple. Why only have one, you know?
For sure. And I think it's important to understand, like, look, there's a lot of innovation going on here, right? And I always look at blockchain in 2 ways. When I'm looking at a blockchain project, I look at the speculation and I look at the innovation. And I think a lot of people only look at the speculative side. They only look at the speculation, the value of the token, and the speculation is always going to be there with this concept of decentralization. But what is the true innovation that, you know, we are bringing to the table? Like I said, we're not trying to go out there and be a Web 4 type of project, because you see some Web 3 stuff, you're like, man, that stuff's like mind blowing, right? It sounds cool, but the average person doesn't understand it yet. I like to think of this as like, hey, it's more of a bridge project, right? We're going from Web 2 to Web 3. Right there in the middle. We're going to have some stuff that's off chain, and we're going to have some stuff that's on chain. And I think people will start to realize that there's a lot of value on the off chain side, because there's the big companies, big tech has been running this model for many, many years. And what we're doing is we're just applying a decentralized model to something that's been done for the last decade. And then we're going to take that and we're going to tokenize it through a DAO. That's it.
Well, the DAO side of it's awesome. And for those of you who already own hardware, I mean, that's been the number one question all along, is, you know, what's going on the customer side and stuff. And now it's converging. And we always knew there would be some of this kind of over time, right? Having enough hardware versus having enough customers. Well, the lines have crossed, friends, from where I'm standing. And I don't want to make promises or, you know, income claims or say anything irresponsible, but we have more clients, it looks like, that are about ready to onboard than we have hardware. So hashtag quality problem and a massive opportunity for you if you're sitting there waiting or thinking, or maybe you want to get a second one, or maybe you just haven't quite made your move yet. I don't think you can get a better time than this.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, we've had a lot of people that have been patient with us where we get set up these last couple of months, and it's always like, well, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And I just kept telling people, look, it's going to happen. Just, it might take a day, it might take 30 days, it might take a year, but it's going to happen, right? And the moment it happens, you guys are going to be super happy. This is the first step in that right direction, because we just need more hardware right now to be able to even entertain some of these customers that are coming to us right now. And that's the hard part, is getting people to believe in that. But Terry, I think with this first step, it is a move in the right direction. I think people will start to see that. I think they'll start to get excited. And once that happens, I think it's a snowball effect. You're not going to be able to stop it.
Well, it's quite literally low-hanging fruit for us here too. And it's one of those things that on your side, you don't have to do a lot of hard work for in terms of infrastructure. You don't have to go grab some new software and build it out, that takes 6 weeks or several months to build it out. And that the project that I started the call talking about is ready to go. This is like it's an early August kind of a thing. And I do think we will see thousands of them onboarding, which is just going to benefit everybody in the cloud. So, Joe, a couple questions are popping up. People are saying, hey, listen, are these validators that you're speaking of, are they going to be on their own particular servers? And I think the answer is yes, but I'll let you comment on that.
Yeah, so if they're a member of the blockchain company and they have CloudX hardware, they can run on their own hardware for yes.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Catherine also asked, how many DAO seats need to be sold to convert it into an official DAO, or to kind of kick that process off?
That all we're waiting for, not really the amount of DAO seats, it's more the approval from the state. Like I've said, right, that one thing that I can't control. That could be a couple weeks away to a month away. So, but once we get the approval from it, we'll immediately mint any of the NFTs that we'll drop any of the NFTs that have already been purchased, and we'll start the minting process. And the people that have bought until that point will actually start earning token rewards since that day one. And as you know, if we've only sold 5,000 DAO seats, or even 1,000 DAO seats, you're now making the pool. The distribution model is based off of a pool, so your token distribution is going to be very, very good the first couple of weeks, months, and there's going to be more token distributed in the beginning than there will be in 3 to 6 months. So the sooner you get in, the better.
Yeah, just for those who are unaware, what happens is there's a fixed daily schedule of distribution, and it goes out to all current active node holders, all current active DAO seat holders. And so being in early actually has a huge benefit here. It's significant. It's not insignificant. Matt had a question. What kind of, I'm not sure if I follow your question, Matt. What kind of debt can be made if one was to buy, what kind of dent can be made, Joe, if someone wanted to buy 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 of these data hardware packs? Does that move the needle? Is this a good play?
So the number that we need, guys, is 300. We need 300 more machines. And let me put it to you this way. We've only sold 224 so far. Okay, so we're about 40%, 45% of the way through where we need to be a true public cloud, right? Because there's private cloud for personal use, like small use like us, but then there's public cloud. Now we need to get into that bigger domain where we can now build brand awareness, brand recognition, and we can go out there and compete with the big boys.
Joe, is that the total amount of servers that have been committed for, or the total amount that are currently installed and operational?
So current installed and operational, 224. Okay. Yeah, we have about another 100 that are pending right now, but even on top of that, we need about 300 total. So we're about 50%, I guess.
Yeah, still need more.
Yeah,
we need lots more. So yes, Matt, absolutely. Go grab 10 tonight and make the cloud a better, stronger play. No worries. Okay. Oh, your question was handled, I hope. Matt, was your question handled, or did you have something else? I just want to make sure. Yeah, great, guys. I mean, let people know that we are actually not deficient in clients. We are deficient in hardware. at the best quality problem possible. And if you guys don't like the D.A.O seats, like I'm happy to take all the tokens, so that's all right. I mean, take your time, guys.
Right.
Joe and I are happy to have him. Joe's also a D.A.O seat member, just like we are, and he's happy to collect the tokens and keep.
No, I'm happy. So if you guys don't buy, I'm hoping not that many people buy that many D.A.O seats, so I can collect a bunch of token in the beginning and be the largest holder. So
yeah, you guys just buy them 6 months from now after we've accumulated all the tokens. We would appreciate that. Do you guys have other questions that are coming up on the chat? I want to make sure we take them on if you guys have them. So Joe, you mentioned earlier in a previous call, maybe it's a minute while they think of maybe an extra couple questions. You are working on the HIPAA compliance as well, because we do have some customers who are definitely interested in that space.
Yes.
You talk a little bit about kind of how that's coming along and what customers.
Yeah. So we already have the data centers are already certified HIPAA compliant. Our storage software is already certified HIPAA compliant. And right now what we're working on is the hardware, and it's not so much the HIPAA compliance of hardware, it's your procedures and your encryptions. And that's being worked on a daily basis right now. So I would probably see us having that HIPAA compliance wrapped up here within the next 3 to 4 weeks as well. And what we'll do is we're actually going to come up with a brand. It's called Med Drive, MED Drive. So just medical drive, people can, that'll be part of our Innate Hub offering. So it'll say like, hey, if you need HIPAA compliance, click here and it'll take him over to our medical brand, our HIPAA compliant brand there. So that's what we're working on.
Very cool. So that would be like a great application for, let's say, chiropractors or a small dental office or stuff like that, right?
Yeah. It'll be any type of medical, practices out there. Doesn't matter if it's a single doctor or a bigger practice. We can definitely service all of them.
Joe, question here asking about that D.A.O seat owners would also participate in dividend distributions. I just kind of want to understand a little bit more about the dividends versus royalties. What would that look like? Yeah,
so royalties are taken off the top. Remember, that's top line revenue. So that goes directly into the support of token and all that stuff. Dividend, and then that's done in token rewards, right? That's in the altcoin in the reward, and you don't know what the value of that's going to be, whether that's going to be a penny or 10 cents or $1 or $100, right? And it could go from $100 down to a penny, right? So that's the risk that you take with getting a token reward. A dividend is based on the profits of the D.A.O. So when we're selling products and services, obviously there's a margin built into every single product that we sell, and it is paid out in a large cap or a stable coin, if you will. So it goes into just a regular dividend. It's the amount of NFTs that you hold per NFT that you hold. There's a certain amount of USDT that will be paid out directly to you. So.
Very cool. Exciting.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Are those answer those questions? Hopefully that does. Joe, are you working on any other hardware or software secret projects that you want to touch on at this point, or?
Where there's a couple, it's you have to kind of go where the community is going with this. One of the things that we're working on hardware wise is bringing the price down from the $15,000 down to about $1,000 to $1,500 for a hardware, but that's not going to be in the compute space. That's going to be in the storage only space. So now that we're getting our drives up and running, we're going to have a need for more storage, terabytes, and so we'll sell those. Those won't have it won't have the same type of expectations as far as being able to show what we've shown on the table. It'll be maybe a few $100, but I think this will be a great product for our emerging markets, people that want to get involved in the hardware side as a tech user, tech owner. The tech users will build on those tech owners' hardware. And so that storage, so just bringing the price point down for our tech owners, if you will.
Yeah, so a separate option, like a lower price. Yeah, I like that. So they can still participate. Kramer wants to know what's the ETA on the servers that are the ones that are like on the way, in transit or whatever, however you would call it.
The other servers, you mean?
Yeah, the ones that are, because you have some that are like en route.
Yeah. So remember, guys, we have to right now. I would say let's get on the CloudX owners update call for that, because there's a lot of nuances to work through, but it is dependent on the amount of sales that we have coming in at this point. So
okay, I got you. And yeah, Matt wants to know, what are all the benefits at this point to being an early adopter? I mean, I feel like we covered that, but if you want to give a couple summary statements, maybe, Joe.
Yeah, so I think the early adopters I think there's two sides to this. There's a few different sides, but the two I think we're talking about here is a tech owner, so CloudX hardware owner, or a DAO member. And an early adopter as a tech owner is that you guys are in the foundational stage of the hardware, meaning everything that we do, everything that we build is built on top of your machines. That means you're going to get, with time, guaranteed utilization, right? Because it's just going to be self-consumption, and then whatever companies, Web3 companies or startup companies that we put on top of that, it's going to, I feel good about being able to say, hey, if you're some of the early adopters and the tech owners, you're going to get consumption no matter what, right? I can't guarantee when that's going to happen, but your machines will get filled up little by little with time. The second thing is the DAO members, and I think the DAO member early adopter right now, the people that get in earlier, the benefit is collecting more token, as we talked about. It is being able to potentially, I think the biggest thing is just collecting more token there, right? The more members the less members we have in the DAO in the beginning, the more weight your vote holds, I guess, if you want to look at it that way as well. Because at full dilution of 20,000, it could be a little bit, if you only have one vote compared if there's only, 100 people in and you have one vote, your vote and your voice is going a little bit further. You're bringing a little bit more heard as a little guy, if you will. So I think the biggest things there would be token reward, the amount that's getting distributed to you by being in early.
Well, also the dividends too. You're just less division of the pie. So
yeah, that one as well. Yes, yeah, because if it's if it's there, yeah, definitely that's less dilution. Yep.
Well, friends, I think it's been a fantastic call. I mean, the idea that we have a hardware shortage problem should tell you a lot about where you're at. So if you're on the fence, I mean, sheesh. And who doesn't want to own something that could potentially be worth billions? We've got customers ready to go much sooner than probably some of you were thinking was possible. It gets measured in weeks. We'll see how many, but we're very close, and that's really, really exciting. In the meantime, grab your DAO seats. You want to participate as early as possible. Get those extra token rewards. Get all the extras that are there for you, right? So, Joe, thank you so much for
thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Fantastic. Do you have any closing thoughts or remarks you want to leave people with?
No, I think it's just, if you're at all interested, there's a lot of moving parts to this. Terry, even, you and I have had conversations about messaging, and the thing is, guys, you don't have to understand it all to understand the overall message. Is like, we want to help people get out from underneath the problems that they are in, financially, if you will, or spiritually, emotionally, whatever that may be. And I think the way to do that is first financially, because once you can help somebody financially, their mindset is now changed. Like, you can now start to think about all the real problems that you have in your life and how you can fix them. And that's what I've done my entire career. I've done it over and over and over again. And everything that I've built, guys, has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So if my track record continues, first company, X amount of people, second was more, third was more, fourth was more, and the fifth one is going to be even bigger. So we know what we're doing here. I'd say you don't have to know everything to get involved. Educate yourself for sure. Make sure you can handle the risk. Make sure you understand the risks involved. But once you've made that decision, just get in, educate yourself, build up that mindset, build up that skill set, and the money will follow at that point. So that's all I would say. Thank you, Terry, for the invitation.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. We'll talk soon.
Take care, guys.